Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the lessons each year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, as I've done for several years. And then I write from that clarity. And so that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's look at lesson 233. I give my life to God to guide today. I love this one. Well, I like a lot of them. Also, I want to remind us before I begin is to be sure and read through what is salvation. And because he's asked us to do both things, to read through what is salvation and to read the lesson and then do whatever is asked of us. Okay, so I give my life to God to guide today. Father, I give you all my thoughts today. I would have none of my own. In place of them, give me your own. I give you all my acts as well, that I may do your will instead of seeking goals which cannot be obtained and wasting time in vain imaginings. Today, I come to you. I will step back and merely follow you. Be you the guide, and I the follower who questions not the wisdom of the infinite, nor love whose tenderness I cannot comprehend, but which is yet your perfect gift to me. Today, we have one guide to lead us on, and as we walk together, we will give this day to him with no reserve at all. This is his day, and so it is a day of countless gifts and infinite mercies unto us. Okay, I'm going to read that last one because I added something, sorry. And so it is a day of countless gifts and mercies unto us. Okay, so today is not gone as I planned, not at all. Evidently, though, it went as it needed to go. It's all part of the plan, regardless of how it seems. Normally, I do this lesson early in the morning, first thing, really. Today it's 1 o'clock and I'm just getting to it. But I did read it this morning and I embrace it. I do give my life to God to guide today and every day. It seems though it is best to renew that commitment every morning and every night. The world can be enticing and distracting. I continue to watch my mind for goals other than the peace of God. I had a moment today when I felt the movement of time and worried that I would not have enough of it. I asked myself what it is that I want, more time or the peace of God? This is a question that helps me recalculate when I seem to be going in the wrong direction, and I easily and quickly choose again. I so love the last sentence. I love that I have surrendered my days to God, and so I know that this day is one of countless gifts and mercies. Knowing this makes it easy to love everything, to find the good in all things, even those things I at first resist. The contractor said he would try to get by this morning, but he didn't. I can resist this and hate it, or I can accept it and love it. I choose love and acceptance because the peace of God is the only goal I have. The following are some stories from the past. I share them because they're very helpful to me, and so may be helpful to others as well. Our lives, what I call our stories, since they're not reality, are filled with opportunities to forgive. Forgiveness is how we awaken. So here's the first one from a past journal. I'm so very happy to give this day to the Holy Spirit. I started that before I even woke up. I've been half in and half out of sleep, and my mind kept going to a student who's having marital problems. It was an ego reaction of being involved in her story and trying to get her to see her error. I would awaken enough to realize what was happening and ask for help to see it differently. This happened over and over until I finally let it go. When I woke up, I had only 3 hours of restless sleep and only time enough to make a cup of coffee before I began my work with a student. I felt a little dazed at first, but I know better now than to let this go on. I reminded myself that for all I know, 3 hours is a perfect amount of sleep for me right now. Evidently it is, since this is what I got. I asked Holy Spirit to work with my mind to override my tired brain, and I feel fine. I also have been thinking about my son who's going through a rough patch. The ego would like to think about this situation, worry about it, suggest things to say to him. I see those thoughts and I ignore them, placing my attention on truer thoughts instead. I trust the Holy Spirit to guide me to get today in this situation as well. If there are words to say, I will be given them. So far, it seems my only part is to trust my son and remember who he is. It is good to disregard the ego thoughts and to follow inner guidance instead. Here is something that happened while I was working. I was so happy that this is today's lesson. It's such a beautiful prayer and so encouraging. I had a long week at work. That is, the days were long and I ended them feeling very tired. It is at times like this that the ego mind sees an opening and jumps right in. It doesn't have as much luck pulling me into false thinking as it used to, but it tries really hard. And lately, either it is trying harder or I'm more aware of the ego thoughts and feelings. Yesterday, after the last customer, but a good 2 hours from home, I decided I'd better stop for supper. I was tired and running out of energy. When I got back in the car, I was glad that I'd stopped and felt much better. As I sat there getting ready to pull out, I suddenly felt so sorry for myself. The ego had all the proof that I was overworked and underappreciated. My body was aching. I just dreaded the rest of the ride home. I just felt like sitting there and crying. It was an ego attack that came out of the blue and hit hard, but not really. I mean, these beliefs that are in my mind all the time, and because they have not been fully released to the Holy Spirit. There were thoughts of victimhood, of being unfairly treated, of hopelessness, and carefully hidden rage. I've given those beliefs to the Holy Spirit any number of times and have received blessings in their place, but I have not let them go completely. I suppose I foresaw a need for them in the future. So here they were again, insisting they were real and important and not to be denied. But I want the peace of God. The peace of God is everything I want, my one goal, the aim of all my living here. I cannot have the peace of God and feel sorry for myself or blame someone for my discomfort. I do all this to myself and I can stop doing it. I cannot wish myself at home when I'm far away, but I can drive home in ease and even enjoy. Yet I feel the pull of ego thinking, but I don't have to go there. I felt better after this little talk with the Holy Spirit and began my way home. The ego tried one more thing as I was leaving. It started up its chatter about not having enough time. I didn't get time this morning to read my paragraph in the text and ask Jesus to enlighten me. Now I would not get home until after 9 p.m. and would be short on time again. I began to worry about this and try to figure out what to do about it. And then I laughed as I realized the ego was at it again. Could I just be at peace? The Holy Spirit answered my question, and I pulled over to the side of the road and shared it on Facebook because sharing something is how we make it our own. And here's what I was given. I will get home when I get home. I will go to sleep when I go to sleep. I will wake up when I wake up. I will get as much done as I get done. That was easy. So here's the insight I had from Holy Spirit. It's a conversation with Holy Spirit that helped me to let go of guilt that would come up when I was mind watching. It's so much easier to catch the ego thoughts now that I don't feel guilty for them. I asked the Holy Spirit to bring my attention to whatever it is that I need to look at just now. I set my intention to look at whatever needs to be seen. And I trust my guide to help me in a way that will be most useful to me at this stage in my spiritual growth. I said, Holy Spirit, my goal is to become completely empty of any desire to think with the ego mind. I know that you know the way home that is perfect for me. I surrender myself to your loving help, and please don't mind my kicking and screaming as it will subside as I release the ego thought. And here's what Holy Spirit told me. My dear child, indeed, you are one who has been consistently bringing your thoughts to me for correction, and all of the sonship is in gratitude. If you would like to avoid that period of kicking and screaming, I will tell you that you can by simply knowing that it is not required. Because you chose to make this a difficult and frustrating process in the past does not mean it must remain so. Would you accept it as easy and, yes, even delightful? It would be so to you. It would give us great joy to surprise you with the ease of allowing without resistance. Perhaps you would like to set your intention to trust yourself to be gladly and gleefully looking within yourself for mistaken thoughts, as looking in your closet for worn out and unwanted clothing, and as easily tossing them out, knowing you are making room for what will bring you much joy. Or if you still feel the need, you may kick and scream throughout the whole process. Gratitude, much gratitude. Holy Spirit, you said before that I'm making this harder than it needs to be, but I keep doing it. It seems that especially these deeply hidden thoughts would be painful to look at and discard. After all, they're deeply hidden. It must be for a reason. But I do love the picture you draw of me looking at and tossing out unwanted thoughts. I will set that intention, though as I type this, I notice some contracting of my body around itself, as if it is fending off something fearful or unwanted. This may take some practice, but wouldn't it be fun to do this with ease? Thank you for that thought. And I will share with you that it is easy now. I don't resist. And I'm actually very happy when these thoughts show up to be undone. Okay, so this is Regina's tips. I give my life to God today. Okay, I'm going to see if I can say this correctly. Nisargadatta Maharaj said that in order to realize the self, the true self, you need the right teacher. He went on to say, generally speaking, there are two ways, external and internal. Either you live with somebody who knows the truth and submit yourself entirely to his guiding and shaping influence, or you seek the inner guide and follow the inner light wherever it takes you. In both cases, your personal desires and fears must be discarded. If you are earnest, whatever way you choose will take you to your goal. It is the earnestness that is a decisive factor. Our way is a combination of the external teacher and the internal teacher. We have structure laid out by the external, by A Course in Miracles for students, by gentle healing homework assignments, by tips from Regina, but most of the time we're left alone with our internal teacher, inner spiritual intuition. Within the structure given by the external, it is the internal we need to submit ourselves to. We submit ourselves to its guiding and shaping influence by asking, what am I to do now? Today's lesson is very clear. An important part of salvation is surrender. We surrender our thoughts, we surrender our actions, and we surrender without questioning the guidance of the teacher. Note that Nisargadatta does indicate that not all external teachers are trustworthy. Therefore, the wisdom of the internal must guide us in selecting the external. It's important to notice that he said, your personal desires and fears must be discarded. If we let our personal desires and fears lead us to ignore the guidance of the teacher, we will remain attached to the ego. True surrender transcends the personality mind entirely. There's a paragraph from the teachings of Inner Ramana that has been coming to my mind over the last 2 days. That paragraph says, watch the mind carefully. Notice how it wants to judge my words or judge my methods. Notice how it wants to choose against me and decide what is best for itself. That is the confusion mechanism. That questioning and doubting feature, which is a core mechanism within the mind, is a separation creation mechanism that keeps you blind to the truth. First, we ask ourselves if we are remembering to seek guidance of the inner teacher by asking, what am I to do now? Next, we need to ask if we're following the intuition we receive, or are we judging for ourselves whether we want to follow or not? Yesterday, we recommitted to following the instructions laid out by one of our external teachers, A Course in Miracles workbook. Today, we recommit to seeking guidance from the inner teacher, and we commit to following the guidance we receive. Well, that was some really good stuff in her tips. And you'll notice that she uses A Course in Miracles. She was also quoting from an awakened master, and then she quoted from the teachings of the inner Ramana, and which was another book that was given to her that she scribed very much, but all of it fits very nicely with A Course in Miracles, so I use it. So thank you so much for joining me in this lesson. And if you liked it, if you found it helpful, please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And thanks so much to all of you who have done so, and to everyone who shows up daily to share these lessons with me. And I'll be back tomorrow with another lesson.